Hello there, my friends. How are you? I'm Joanne Jolie, and I want to welcome you to our live stream, Encourage One Another. So glad you're here. So we are at the end of our series on the building of our faith. This is episode number 8. We've been using the analogy of building a house. And by the way, thank you to all of you who have added your verses and your thoughts along the way. Really, really great stuff. Really appreciate the participation, and I really encourage it too. So keep it coming. The house we build is built with superior materials we've seen. It's built on a rock-solid foundation of Christ, of course. Sin has been rooted out. We are enjoying our growing and deepening relationship with the Lord, and we're very careful about the doors and windows. What are we opening ourselves up to? What are we allowing into the interior, which is our hearts and our minds? Last week, we looked at the landscaping. The landscaping is the exterior. This is what people see when they first look at us. What's the impression? We also talked about Psalm 1, the mature tree that we grow into, set beside the flow of a life-giving water source. So the roots go down deep and it's able to stand no matter what's going on, droughts, severe weather, whatever. So today is the testing. Is the structure going to stand under very severe conditions? Matthew 7:25. And this is where we started. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. So this week in the Phoenix Valley where I live, we had an internationally reported event. It happens pretty much every year, but this is a really big one. It was an epic monsoon dust storm. They're called haboobs. The first thing, I was in my studio here and I got an emergency alert on my phone warning us that a dust storm was coming in. They come in very quickly. It said, pull aside, stay alive. Because you cannot drive in these things. It's a complete brownout. So I actually raced outside to get a bit of film. Here's a teeny clip of what I took. So that's just a little bit of what I was able to capture. It was, from the time I filmed that, it was about 15 minutes until the place was entirely engulfed. I do have one other image here. This is taken from the Sky Harbor International Airport. Let's see here. There it is. You can see it's rolling across the airport. All the flights were grounded and other flights had to be diverted. So these things are serious. There was a ton of damage. It brings very, very high winds and so forth, tens of thousands of people without power. There is zero visibility, and when the storm has passed, even if you haven't had any particular damage to your property, and many houses are damaged, there is an aftermath. There is a horrible covering of dust which gets into absolutely everything, takes a long time to clean it all away. Nobody gets out of these things untouched when they come on. And this is kind of what trials are all about, these testings. Everybody has to bear hard things in life, but for believers, we know that any trial that comes upon us, anything that we find difficult, we can call that a trial. It has a purpose. It's to strengthen us. It's to help us to build stamina so that we can learn patience and we can learn how to endure things. And this helps us to mature spiritually as well. James 1, verses 2 through 4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. So for us, trials are never meaningless. Anytime we have a difficult situation, there is a purpose. We can rest assured in that. Romans 5, 3 through 5 says pretty much the same thing. But we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. And hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. Peter has something to say about this as well. Let me read this. 1 Peter chapter 1, 6 through 7. In all of this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief of all kinds of trials. These have come upon you so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. He mentions gold in there. I'm going to touch on that coming up. And then we get to Job. We know the story of Job. He's somebody who suffered unimaginable trials. He lost pretty much everything. First he lost his entire family, except for his bitter wife. Satan was thoughtful enough to keep her around. Then he lost his wealth, and finally he lost his health, and he didn't know what was going on. He said in Job 23, verse 10, but he, that's God, knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth like gold. Now, right before Job said those words, he had just expressed real confusion as to what was going on. I mean, this was a nightmare. He said, well, verses 8 through 9, right before that, chapter 23, he's trying to find God. He says, if I go to the east, he's not there. If I go to the west, I don't find him. When he is at work in the north, I don't see him. When he turns to the south, I catch no glimpse of him. So Job couldn't find God. He didn't know what was happening. He had no idea what was next. Was he just going to die a broken, destroyed man who had lost everything? But he seems to understand something. He seems to understand somehow that this terrible suffering was a trial for his good, and he left it there. He settled into the situation. This was a situation completely out of his control, and he just trusted God that he was going to bring him out of it like gold. That's pretty amazing to me. So why don't we talk about gold a little bit? Some of the principles around gold. First of all, gold is a precious metal. It's rare. It's not easy to find. It's often encased in rock deep underground, so it's hard to get to. The gold that you find in the rock is useless. It can't be used for anything until the rock is smashed off. It has to be smashed up with hammers to extract the gold. And it's interesting because no matter how much beating the gold takes, nothing can damage it. Nothing can diminish the value or hurt it, because all of that pummeling away actually exposes its value. So this refining process, it's crushing, then there is burning in the furnace in this very, very intense heat to further get rid of impurities, so that the gold, when it's completely refined and it's the 24 karat state, which is like 99% purified gold, is usable. It's beautiful and it's usable. Now, the properties of gold stay the same, but since it's such a soft metal, it can be used for many, many different types of things, like it can be used for jewelry, obviously, to gilding, covering the thin layers. I didn't know this until recently, but it can be used for food. One of my daughters had a cake business, and she used to decorate with gold, sprinkle gold on it. You can eat it. And of course, it's so beautiful. And then, of course, there's money, currency and wealth and status and so forth. Another thing about gold is that if a ship is lost at sea, and it's got all its treasure and it's found, say, 1,000 years later, most things have deteriorated, but not the gold. It comes right out, still shiny, still rust-free, and in excellent condition. So through our trials, we are being refined in God's fire. He is the refiner. He's a skillful refiner. Compared to, say, a raging fire in a forest, the fire just blasts through, burns up everything in its path, but God is cosmetically working in us very specifically to remove the impurities that diminish our value, and, as Job said, to bring us forth like gold. So just remember, if you're going through hard things, you're not being punished, you are being purified, you are being strengthened. And I've had to go through very difficult things in my life, and I've always taken a real immense comfort in Romans 8:28, where it says, we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. There's a great comfort in that, just knowing that God is working with us because he loves us and he's called us. So About 5 years ago, I actually wrote a song about this. It's called I Am Gold, Going Through Fire. Some of the lyrics, there's reason in the fire, I need not be afraid. All that is unreal will be burned away. So I'm going to close with that. I'm going to play you just a little clip of the song, and there'll be a link in the description box if you want to hear the whole thing. So here it is, I Am Gold. Thank you for being here. I wish you a wonderful and blessed week.